And we are on our hometown station, 98.1 FM and AM 1220 KHTS. Yes, this is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance one's quality of life. And speaking of quality of life, our guest this morning is Shannon Avazian with Assisted Living Locators.
Hello, Barbara. How are you doing today?
It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
I'm doing good. Yes.
Good.
Beautiful outside this morning.
Except for our little walk.
Yes. Only I was walking with my hose, hosing down the muck that gets stuck along in the curbs.
Oh.
Because the cleaners don't come. Street cleaners don't come as much as they should, in my opinion. And then I've got my neighbor's van parked a little further down. Mm-hmm. So if the cleaners do come, they won't be able to get it all because the van's there.
Right.
So, I don't know. That's
Daily
life.
conflict.
I know.
Daily.
But it's so good to be alive.
Yes, it is.
And it was beautiful out there this morning. It's going to be hot, though.
For sure.
Yes, it's going to be hot. Well, how have you been?
I have been well. I've been very busy.
Very busy.
Yes. So
with your business.
I have. I've had lots of calls, and August was kind of a record for me. So it was exciting to help families and just be that person for what they needed when they needed it.
You mean by a record, you mean lots of people contacting you?
Lots of people contacting me, yeah. There was definitely a need, a spike in the...
I wonder why.
I don't know, but, it was... I had a lot of, I don't want to say difficult cases, but I had, families that had family in a rehab, and they couldn't get out to California, so I was able to be that person on the ground that did everything for them, and I was so grateful for that one.
Oh, wow.
Really to be able to, they hadn't even been able to see a boarding care, and they went based on my recommendation, and I was able to, pick up that family member and get them into the boarding care, and it was really a neat experience for myself as well.
That's wonderful. Well, now, was this woman, she needed a room?
Yes,
only?
he did.
He did.
He was a higher level of care, so he needed what was called a care home or a boarding care. So there are two different. So there's a boarding care that's going to be your 6 residential residents at the house, or it's going to be a large community, which is more like the resorts. So depending on your level of care, which one you need, will, whether you're social activities, if you're still going to benefit from the social activities at the resort style, that's where I first tried to decide whether or not, a resort style would be better or maybe a residential care home. Or is the resident going to enjoy social activity, going out on events, having interaction with all the other residents, because it's going to be a larger community. So that's my first go-to to decide whether or not that person's going to benefit from the social activities from the large boarding care or large community. And then from there, if they're not, and their level of care is such that they need more attention, then usually the boarding care would be a better fit for that family.
So you when you do this, you talk to the entire family, or do you talk just to the person you're trying to help?
It depends on who calls. So, if the wife is calling me and I'm working with just the wife, maybe she's looking for her husband, I have that, then I work with just the wife. On the way down here, I got a call. There was 4 siblings looking for mom, and then I can be the liaison for all 4 siblings because, we are franchised. So they're looking in La Crescenta and San Fernando, AV, and Santa Clarita.
Whoa.
So I cover Antelope Valley, Santa Clarita, and San Fernando. And then my franchisee covers La Crescenta. So I said, hey, I'm able to give you the top pick for all 4 valleys and work with the family.
Interesting.
Yeah, and work with the family. Really be that one center of contact so they can get all that information streamlined to them.
Okay, this gentleman that you're helping, or let's just take an example. If you have a person who wants one room in a smaller home, does that home have a nurse available for that one person? Is that what you base that on? If his needs are such?
Yeah, well, the residential care homes are non-medical, so they actually do not need an RN or an LVN on staff.
Oh,
So they are non-medical. They are really just the caregivers. So they're making sure 24-hour care is provided.
so make sure he gets 3 meals a day. Make sure he has
Bathing,
clean sheets
grooming,
and
all of
just
that.
general taking care of him.
And usually with the higher level of care, the in-home services would come into play, and that's where the nurses or the doctors would be coming in to visit that resident. Or if it's hospice, then that's where the nurses and doctors come in. So it's whether or not they need in-home services and hospice. Otherwise, they just need that safe place to be cared for, and that's what they'll get from the board and care.
I see. And then when you're talking about a larger home with maybe 5 bedrooms, 6 bedrooms, something like that, and I'm assuming we have them here
Oh,
in
absolutely.
Santa Clarita?
Absolutely. We have beautiful care homes. It depends. They're licensed for 6 residents. So there might be, 3 private rooms and then 3 shared rooms, or I'm not quite sure. My math probably didn't add up on that, but it's divided between shared rooms and private rooms, and it's just licensed for 6 residents.
I see. Interesting. And they do the same thing. They eat their meals there.
Yeah,
and-
so it would be.
But they go on outings and different trips and
Not the smaller residential care homes.
no, but
Yeah.
the larger ones.
The large
Where you have-
communities, absolutely. They're enjoying life. They're still, these are for seniors that, just don't want to be bothered by the expense of the house anymore, the gardener, the upkeep, something broke, and they may just want to, be with other like-minded seniors and have the care if they need it. But they're going to museums and events, and they're going to shopping centers and, daily. So it's quite an experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess I'm fortunate because I have my own home. It's fully paid for. And at this point, I don't need any care. I have neighbors who I go visit and who come and visit me. And my granddaughter comes down once a week, and she cleans my house. And she does half of it one week and half of it the next week. And I figured, I'd rather pay her
Right.
than pay
Oh,
a house
absolutely.
cleaner who, and most times house cleaners don't do the cleaning that you like.
Right. Right.
There were so many times when I had to tell her, this toilet gets dirty down below. And I've gone in there and put my fingers down on that base and it's all grubby.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, no.
And I'm
No,
paying
not gonna
someone
do
for
this.
this. Right,
Yes.
right,
I'm
right.
not going to do it. So I'd rather pay Shannon to
Right,
come down and do
Right.
it.
Good for you.
Plus, she's taking care of putting photos in albums now because I tried to get Russ to go through his photographs and he wouldn't have anything to do with it because most of them were, well, a lot of them were his childhood, which he did not have a very pleasant childhood and was bounced around from foster home to foster home. And then to get out of that, he joined the Army at 17, but he lied to get in. Told them he was 18,
Right.
and he forged his birth certificate. Don't ask me
Wow.
how, but
Wow.
he
right,
did.
Right. Back in the day, you could.
Day.
Right.
And I still have a copy of that.
Aw.
And I have a copy of the real one. And every once in a while, when people wanted to see his death certificate, his birth certificate, I had to make sure I
Pay
had
attention.
the right one.
Yeah. Yeah. The things we do.
Oh, it was amazing. But no, he had fantastic care.
No, that's wonderful.
I had to have 24-hour care for him.
Right.
Finally,
and we talked
because I
about
couldn't
that because
yes.
you had the long-term care insurance.
Yes.
And you guys set it your financial appropriately, so you had the funds to do that.
Yes, and
It's
it was
wonderful.
fortunate. That's why he didn't want me to buy the long-term
Yeah.
care, but I did anyway.
Good for you.
But it
You know.
paid a third
Yeah.
of every month's bill.
Yeah. Which
And
is
those-
huge.
Whoa.
At home, 20 something
24/7?
plus, right?
Oh,
20
yes.
something plus, I'm sure, right?
Oh.
For in-home 24
Yeah,
hour.
it was amazing because one of the companies I used went out of business, and they were, I think, 65 an hour.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, in Santa Clarita, I'm glad you said that. You know, I kind of went through some costs for board and care in big communities, but you know, on average, if you need someone, as you're well aware of, in Santa Clarita, it's typically for a licensed, bonded, and insured company, you're looking at $28 to $35 an hour. You know, and the recommendation is obviously you want to go with someone who's licensed, bonded, and insured.
That's true. Well, that price was for the overnight.
Oh,
It was more for overnight than it
course.
was during the daytime
of course.
because their lives were interrupted,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And in order for me to get a good night's sleep, I had to make sure that someone was there to take care of
Care
Russ
for him. Yeah.
so that I could go to bed,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And it was costly. But last year's cost for me for the out of pocket were $120,000.
Right.
And that didn't include the third that the insurance covered.
Wow.
That's right.
That says it. Yeah. And not a lot of seniors will have that.
No.
Or families in general.
No, and I'm so fortunate that,
Yeah.
that Russ did,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
He said, I want to make sure you're taken care of if something happens to me. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
But I don't have to worry,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And it's incredible. It
Well,
really
and
is.
you know, our audience are seniors, and what I like to say in regards to that is a lot of the families that contact me would be, you know, they're seniors, and then also their children, right? So the sons and the daughters. And this sparks a conversation for them as well.
Oh,
What do we do now?
absolutely.
And I'm in that
Absolutely.
age group, right?
Yes.
The 45 to 60 age group. Like, what have we done to plan? I see this going on with mom or dad. What about me? You know, and the long-term care insurance is a wonderful option, but A, can you afford it with all your
Well,
other insurances?
That's true.
And B, you know, if I can't afford it, I'm not thinking about it. I'm kind of denying that. Is typically what's going on with my generation. You know, it's like we'll look at everything else, but we're really not dealing with that. And so there's really a crisis that's happening for the next stage and this stage that haven't planned for that financial, like you and your husband did.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I mean, the investments that he made, my children will benefit,
Oh,
you know.
love hearing
and
that.
their children will benefit.
That's amazing.
So, I mean, that's just the type of person he was because that never occurred
Yeah.
in his lifetime because he was always bounced around from one foster home to the other
Yeah.
because his mother was considered an unfit mother.
Wow.
You
The
know,
stories he
she
has
was a
endured.
heavy drinker
Yeah.
and she loved men.
Oh boy.
There was always a different man around the house. And Russ finally found out who his father was. But it took him a long time to do it, you know. And his brother has a different father. So
That's heartbreaking.
It
That's
was.
heartbreaking.
It
Yeah.
was. And that's one of the reasons why he never talked about his past. Never.
Sure.
Never did.
But look what he did for his own family.
That's right.
That's incredible.
Yes.
And prepared for the future as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
that's
he
what
was
we were
always
talking-
looking forward.
Oh, always.
Yeah. How the important, and obviously planning for your future was important, but for our community's future as well. And he did a tremendous job of foreseeing our needs.
Yeah. Well, you knew him. You knew him. You knew what type of man he was.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
It's too bad there aren't more around like
Should
that.
be a
you
little
know.
school.
Yes, there should.
We're losing that.
Yes,
we
we
are. I
are.
know we're getting off off
No.
topic.
Well,
but
it's
we're really
and my kids, my daughter and her husband are doing the same thing for their kids.
Really?
And so is my son.
Oh.
I mean, he's not investing it. He doesn't believe in banks. He doesn't believe in investments. So he puts his money in safe deposit boxes and buries them in his backyard. And
Don't say that.
He has 2.5 acres.
Wow. Wow.
Well, people are getting out their metal detectors right now.
Yeah, don't say that.
Well,
Where'd you say it was?
Yeah,
What was the
right.
address?
I'd like to visit.
they would be very sorry if they tried to get in.
A lot of
because
rattlesnakes.
He
lots of booby traps.
He has lots of dogs.
IEDs.
I mean, you don't go anywhere near that property without those dogs. I mean, ready to attack.
Wow. I guess you'd have to.
Yeah.
For sure.
But anyway, it's time to take a break. Yes, old Evil Eye over here. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM and AM 1220 KHTS.
Lots of people can build websites, but there's one Santa Clarita company that specializes in designing websites for your business. Small Dog Creative. The Small Dog Creative team is made up of local designers who are hands-on. Their talented team of experts build premium websites and redefine branding. Small Dog Creative doesn't just build websites. They'll upgrade your business's online presence and turn your business into a powerful online brand. Small Dog Creative, Santa Clarita's most innovative web and design company. SmallDogCreative.com.
Comfort Keepers provides your loved one with loving in-home care.
Miles McNamara, certified senior advisor and owner of Comfort Keepers in-home care.
Our caregivers can help you in your own home, enhancing independence, creating safety and comfort. Our Comfort Keepers provide companionship, meal preparation, medication reminders, assistance with personal care, and even transportation to doctor's appointments. If someone you love can use a helping hand at home, visit ComfortKeepers.com.
Or call 287-4200.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign, next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
Aloha, friends! Go check out Honu Coffee, home of the best cold brew coffee. What makes their coffee special is how their organic coffee beans are infused with nitrogen to create a smooth and delicious cup of coffee. You'll also find traditional bold coffees and island-inspired signature drinks. They're the perfect place to catch up with friends or just relax with your favorite cup of joe. Honu Coffee on Lyons and Walnut in Newhall. Stop by and say aloha.
And now for your convenience, a second Honu location at 23502 Lyons Avenue between Peachland and Apple.
Your hometown station.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host,
Dr. Jean Dorio.
on your hometown station, 98.1 FM and AM 1220 KHTS. And we're speaking with Shannon Avazian. Is that
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Avazian. Whoa. And she's with Assisted Living Locators.
Yes.
And we've been doing quite a bit of talking since dear
Since I
doctor
was
wasn't
lost.
here,
We lost him.
trying to find a parking place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty unique to, here in Newhall to, have to search around. But there's filming going on, and of course, the community, we make money off the filming, which is great. But they did take up all the parking in Newhall. So for those of you who are looking around and trying to find parking, I already tried the DMV, so don't bother going there. That's about a mile from the station.
And the senior
Hart
center.
Park I worked on, and senior center, old senior
last,
center I worked on. That did not happen. Finally, I found parking in the parking structure,
Yep.
and so they had crew only going in there. So I just kind of faked it through. I gave them my autograph and
Your ID.
and got in. So, but finally made it into the show.
Yes.
Yeah.
30
so
minutes late, but
30
that's all
minutes
right.
late.
Welcome.
Well, we saw you driving up.
Back and forth. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it did.
Twice.
Yes.
There were several fire hydrants that I was looking at very carefully to see
Yes.
whether I was going to
Yes.
park take a chance and park near them, and just kind of gave up. And there was some corner parking that I thought, now I'm going to get towed on that.
There's
So,
one coming out of there.
so yes, we're going directing traffic here
Well,
on Main
I'm-
Street,
I'm
and a
okay
car
so
just
far.
pulled right
And there
in.
goes another one.
Yeah,
So
Barb
there-
got to park right out front.
Yes, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah,
amazing.
you're lucky with parking. What can I say?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So, and in terms of parking and finding places to stay, to stay in life, Shannon, this is a duty of life that you have, and there are older adults that they're getting older, and their loved ones are saying, hey, there's mom, dad, you can't take care of yourself anymore. There's, you can't keep the house clean. You can't get your food. You can't do your shopping. You can't take care of your pets. I mean, this gets pretty difficult. And, it comes to a point in life where sometimes we can't get the people into the house to help out. So we have to take the person out of the house. And that is it's not an easy task to tell your loved one that this is going on right now, and then two, what you're involved in, Shannon, is trying to find a suited place for them to go where a change in life is going to occur, and they have to feel comfortable with it.
Absolutely. And, I was working with a family last week, and it was the wife who called me. Barbara and I were kind of briefly talking about that, but the wife called me, and we don't realize the caregiving, the stress that goes on the spouse that's really the surviving spouse taking care of that. I was one of them. I took care of my late husband 10 years ago, and even though I was young, I took care of my two little ones. I had a 3 and a 5-year-old. He was passing away on hospice, and I took care of my mother and my grandmother all at the same time. So my health was such that I was not well. I actually had 3rd-degree heart block, and I had a
my
pacemaker. And so I understand kind of the emotional turmoil that goes through that process and the guilt that's associated with, I want him or her home with me. And and they won't have anything else. And then there comes a point where it's too much, and maybe it's unsafe for that spouse. And that's usually when I get that call. And I take that call very serious. I really understand, like I said, and I am going to do everything I can to find that family the right place and that right home. It's not just a place to me. It's really having that whole experience where the family can walk into that care home and sit in that care home with their loved one and
Yes.
feel as comfortable as they could
would
at home.
if they were at home.
Correct.
I totally agree with you.
How do you, Shannon, help the loved ones, the caregivers, to discuss this issue with that loved one that might need to make this change? How do you approach it? This is one of these
Touchy.
very touchy. When you're so often we hear it on this show. You can't drive anymore. We can't let you behind the wheel. We have to take away your driver's license. That is one of the more devastating situations that patients and loved ones face. How do you turn around and say to your loved one, you're having problems and we have to face the reality of it? What's your approach on that?
I am ready and available, and I try to be that liaison for that family. So I will go in and have those difficult conversations. And I really, most of the time, the spouse knows it's happening, unless it's a memory care issue. But most of the time, the spouse is more willing to do that than the more able spouse, because they know the pressure that's going on at home. If it's the husband and the wife's trying to lift him and transfer, he understands that at some level, this is what's best for my wife.
Too often, though, I see many of them in denial.
Sure.
They will say, I'm fine
Right.
at
Leave me
home.
alone.
I can do this.
Yeah.
I can do my shopping. I have a cell phone, and I can call Vons and have them do a delivery, or a restaurant and they can deliver to me. I can do this. Don't worry. I'm in the real world.
Yeah.
But so often they're not.
They're not.
And so it's not an easy task.
It's not. And typically in those situations, we have family meetings where we all go in and we support each other. And there has been a lot of good conversation, even if it starts the conversation, right? But it's about just being that outside force that comes in and discuss all the options with them. They respond in a way that you wouldn't typically expect. Like I said, most of the time I've had really good meetings, in that type of situation. There are the situations where it's a memory issue and it's dementia, or and there's aggressiveness, and I've had those too, and in those situations, talking with the big communities, the best approach sometimes is not to inflame that, right?
That's true.
So it's not necessarily we're doing this, this, and this, because you're not dealing with a condition that really can handle that. So it's really trying to see what's going on in the home and address it the way it needs to be addressed.
Sometimes they're not ready.
They're not ready.
They're not ready, and but the introduction of the thought and the possibility allows them to start getting ready and preparing themselves. So often in that family meeting, you talk about the stresses on the family. If the individual has fallen and hurt themselves and actually been hospitalized, it's jeopardy to their health and welfare. And, you have to have reassurance to the family that, and this is what you hope, that the costs are not going to be that much, and the costs in going the same direction will be worse, financially, emotionally, health-wise, across the board. It could be a lot worse. The discussion needs to take place.
Yeah.
And if one is resistant on having that discussion, you got a problem.
Oh.
Yeah, because then we have to be upfront and factual. And sometimes, individuals of authority, strong family members, clergy, doctors, nurses have to be involved as well to say, you've got a problem and we're recognizing that, and you have to now recognize it as well. So, this is not a simple and easy problem that can just say, snap your fingers and say, we're going to do this and you're done. Right. It's not going to happen. I would say there's resistance and denial in the majority of cases.
Right.
Well, that was the case with Russ.
Yeah.
He didn't want to have everybody come in and take care of him.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
But as I've mentioned before, trying to assist him, and he was in the bathroom and tried to get up. He started to fall. I tried to catch him, and I fell. And I said, that's it.
Right.
And this was during the evening time. This was nighttime. And I said, no, someone's coming in here from 10 o'clock at night to 6 or 7 in the morning and take care of you so that I can sleep, because I can't handle you,
And that's usually a first step. So it would be an introduction to in-home services.
Right.
And that's usually where I would start. And we kind of have that opening conversation with the spouse and the family and say, okay, let's get you the services you need.
That's
We'll
right.
bring someone in and help mom, and we'll help dad. And at some point, if it becomes too expensive, or the needs increase for the level of care, then we have to look at, the alternatives, whether that's a boarding care or the, large communities. And I put together, and these are rough numbers, but these are based off my experience in Santa Clarita. A lot of people are sitting at home, what can I expect, So I put together, for the large communities, the resort style, which are usually going to be, upwards of 50 to 100 residents. On the lower end in Santa Clarita only, because I work in AV and San Fernando, so we're talking Santa Clarita for a studio apartment. There's a studio apartment, there's a 1-bedroom, and then there's 2 bedrooms, all variations of pricing. So I'm just talking studio. It's rough numbers is $2,895 to $3,500 a month for a studio apartment. Not including level of care.
Good heavens.
So level of care would be an additional cost, and it could be anywhere from $350 to $2,000, depending on what that care looks like.
That's true.
So, and then it goes, on a higher end, could be upwards of $52.95 to $56.95 for the higher end communities, and then level of care on top of that. And that's just for the studios. And then if you look at the boarding cares, the boarding care for a shared room would be roughly 35 to 38 on the low end, and all can go up from there. And then the private rooms are, 45 to 48. But that's a fixed price. So there is no level of care on top of that. So.
And, maybe we need to talk about what a board and care is. And maybe we need to talk about what assisted living is in terms of a location for it. And, of course, maybe we should talk about nursing homes.
Yeah.
Because these are different level of care that one has to at least appreciate and understand as they're trying to figure out what their options are.
Yeah.
So if we start at the lowest level that all of us have heard of, the nursing home, where everybody, I would say a good, greater than 90% of my patients will say, I ain't going to a
No.
nursing home.
Absolutely.
Last night, met a patient who I had known before, and one of the things she said right off the bat, I'm not going to a nursing home. And
Absolutely not.
And 90% will say that, but sometimes it has
to be done.
Has to be done, and
For medical reasons.
for medical reasons, because it just has to be at a level where in-home,
Skilled.
trying to stay in your home is not going to work, and you need skilled medical professionals doing the job.
Right.
But the sad part is, in the United States and in California, we have a few excellent nursing homes, and the rest of them are marginal. And it used to be that some of the nursing homes were just money makers for the people who owned them. Nowadays, they're not money makers for anybody. And the people who are trying to survive in the industry don't get paid that much. And they're
Really?
just trying to survive. There's others that are endowed by different organizations that do very well. But they're very few and far between, and how you get into them, you have to have that inside
Know
track,
somebody. Yeah.
like
That's
the
right.
people here taking up our parking places today. Motion
They
picture.
knew somebody.
They have a great
Right.
place, and they've had a few troubles lately, but no, they do a great job for those folks who have been in the movie industry and television industry. So that's good that they have that, but most of the rest of us don't.
Right.
So we're facing stays that could cost $6,000 to $9,000 per month for skilled nursing, and it depends on your Medicare, if you're on Medi-Cal, how you get on Medi-Cal, which is also, by the way, federally Medicaid. These are all things that that are related to nursing homes and the care, and how you're and trying to achieve and get to that, be at that level so you can get care. But that's very expensive, when you're at that level. And like I said, most people don't want to go there. But you had mentioned another level, which is board and care. And if you want to describe, Shannon, take the rein on that and tell us what a boarding care is, so our listeners know.
Sure. So the boarding care is licensed for typically 6 residents or less. And it's just a home that has been converted so it's, wheelchair accessible. It's governed by social services.
Like ADA and all that.
ADA services, ADA. And so it's just a typical home that is ran by non-medical staff. They do not need a licensed nurse. They do not need an RN. It is non-medical. And what that means is you're going to be provided the housing and the 24-hour care that you need to, but it will not be skilled. The skilled will be in the skilled nursing or the rehabilitations, the rehabs, things like that.
It's nice here in Santa Clarita. We have several board and cares who actually are run by nurses. So, and because they have a little bit different
They have an
outlook.
edge.
They have a huge edge. And several of the board and cares, the nurses that I've worked with them and seen how well they do care for patients in an acute setting. So when it comes to a chronic setting, they know exactly what to do.
And they're going to prevent that hospital stay from occurring. They notice that
Exactly.
fever's happening and they're on
They're
top
on
of
it.
it.
They're on it.
Versus a non-medical, I mean, this is what they do though. When I say non-medical, they just don't have the license, but they've been doing this,
Yeah.
so, but there is the edge that you're,
Huge edge.
Huge
So,
edge.
for those who don't know who these folks are, just, you can contact the station who contact me and, they're, or contact Shannon because I'm sure
I
you
have.
know who own the owners of some of the board and cares, and they just, they give exquisite service, and I do house calls and board and cares, and they, I can see how well
The
the
difference.
skin is,
Yeah.
the nutrition is, the activity is.
and that's
for
a huge thing, you talk
huge.
about wound care, because a lot of these, the loved ones are in the residential homes and they're in a bed, they're bed bound. So if you're dealing with someone who doesn't, do the transferring or the constant, what's the word I'm looking for? But
rotation, movement.
Rotation, yeah. You can definitely run a risk of the,
Skin breakdown and the sores, and that's huge.
it's huge.
It's huge, and
It is, and that was one of the reasons why Russ would never go to bed.
He's
He
afraid.
would never go to bed. He stayed in his chair in the living room. But it was a chair that he could lift the foot
Yeah.
up and relax. He could put it down when he wanted to get
Some
up and use his
movement,
walker and move. And bed? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
He would never have gone in that bed.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
He needed the mobility when he could get it rather than lying flat, having possibly to roll over, put your legs down first. It was a constant procedure that you had to go through.
Yeah.
And he wasn't having any part of that. No.
Yeah.
My chair is my bed.
Oh.
And,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was. That's
Yeah.
where he stayed the
Yeah.
entire time. Wouldn't
Yeah.
go anywhere else until we had to put him in the hospital.
Yeah. And I see a lot of, family members calling me with, there's, end dementia or end stage, but with mild dementia where it's been long term. So they've had it for maybe 15 years and it's just become such that it's just too much to manage at home. I have a lot of phone calls like that. So, the board and cares are a good fit for that as well if they don't need the secured environment.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking for families. It really is.
It's devastating.
It
well,
really
and
is.
when the patient, the loved one, doesn't have dementia, which is probably about 80% of the time, think about that devastation, because they know their mind is still there, but their body is failing them.
Yeah,
That's right.
Isn't that horrendous?
it's awful.
It
It's
is.
terrible.
And
torture.
we need to take a break, don't we? And we'll be back in a few minutes. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220, KHTS.
The best live theater can be found right here in the Santa Clarita Valley. The Canyon Theater Guild has been entertaining audiences for decades with top quality musicals and plays. Located on Main Street in Old Town Newhall, CTG also offers workshops for the young actor in your family. For more information, call the box office at 799-2702 or go online to canyontheater.org.
You just had an accident. You're okay, but worried your car will never look the same. Your vehicle may be the second biggest investment you'll ever make. Give it the care it deserves at Body Shop 661.
Hi, this is Caesar from Body Shop 661. If you had an accident, you get to choose the auto body facility you want. Our full collision repair center works with all vehicles, foreign and domestic, and we handle all insurance companies.
Body Shop 661 off Ruther behind Home Depot.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
We all know sometimes people lose their way. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, the Way Out Recovery SCV may have the answers you've been waiting for. The Way Out is the premier intensive outpatient treatment center serving Santa Clarita. Asking for help is the first step. Call The Way Out today, 661-296-4444. That's 296-4444 for a private free assessment. The Way Out is an accredited affordable outpatient program that accepts most insurance. Call us at 661-296-4444 or check us out online at thewayoutrcoveryscv.com. Quit battling with yourself. Ask The Way Out for help today.
Hey there, it's Tori with your hometown station weather. Another hot day, triple digits ahead of us. Looking at a high of 102 with overnight lows in the mid-70s. More of the same for tomorrow. A cool down may happen on Sunday. For anything and everything Santa Clarita Valley related, go to hometownstation.com or find us on social media at KHTS Radio.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
Welcome to the Senior Hour. The following is paid programming and does not necessarily reflect the opinions of KHTS or its ownership.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Dr. Gene Dorio with my co-host Barbara Cochran on your hometown station 98.1 FM and AM 1220 KHTS. We're talking with Shannon Avasian about helping with home care beyond a person's home. And just going back to what we were mentioning, we talked about nursing facilities, boarding cares, and then there's assisted living. And assisted living, we have quite a few now here in Santa Clarita. But why don't you describe that for us so our listeners kind of know how that fits into what we've talked about?
So assisted living, and really it can be as independent living in Santa Clarita. So it doesn't, you can go there and don't need any assistance whatsoever as long as we, the doctors, we do a standard physician's report and they say if you're well enough, you don't even need assistance. So it's really for seniors who don't necessarily want the upkeep of a home. They want to be catered to. I love showing people what senior living has really become in Santa Clarita and everywhere else. But, it's really that resort style living. So you can go there. You're going to have 3 fine dining experiences. We go on events and museums and, all sorts of special events for the seniors that want to get out and do. They just don't necessarily want to get out and do by themselves anymore. They're just kind of, tired of the upkeep of the house, and they can move into, one of these larger communities. And also the assisted living comes into play. So maybe it's the next stage where they just need some gentle reminders. They need some help, maybe standing or showering, and then they're fine throughout the day. They may just need medication management. My mother went into a local one here, and she went in for she was terminal emphysema. Her lungs were no longer responding to treatment. We moved her into the big communities. They gave her the medication management, and just with proper diet and eating properly, she responded because she's taking the medications, and all of that comes into such play. She was able to live another 5 beautiful years.
Right.
That's wonderful.
And I would have lost her if she would have continued to stay at home. You know, she also is one of my glory stories, you know, because she went into the assisted living. She stayed there for 6 months. They got her back up on her feet. We were able to move her back home with minimal in-home services.
Wow.
And she lived at home for 5 years and she passed away at home.
That is great.
So I truly understand what it means to be at home and your loved one being at home. I promise you, if you call for just some information, I am not going to try and sell you on one of these communities. I'm going to provide you and want to be that resource for the community, just a safe place to call and have a discussion, because I understand what it means to have your loved one at home. As I said, my husband passed away at home in my arms in hospice. So I truly understand what goes in, you know, what that looks like and how important it is to have them at home as well.
So if listeners need to get a hold of you, Shannon, your phone number is
661-544-1004. And so, or they can call me, or check me out online. It's Assisted Living Locators. They can just kind of pop in a zip code and it'll bring them right directly to my landing page.
Well, I think we can all agree that aging in place, remaining in your home, is the goal of everybody.
Absolutely.
And my thought is, 10 years from now, we'll be doing that for 90% of our patients.
Wow.
Right now, it's like just the opposite. Just doesn't happen. Barbara's case was an exception
Rare,
with Russ. But, you know, I think we will learn to achieve that. But right now, we need options. And, you know, when it comes to the crunch time of how one's quality of life is going to be sustained, you know, you have to figure out and have in your repertoire of ideas where you can go. And this is what you provide, these ideas where you can present it in a sensitive, sentimental way that I think, you know, if you know you try to do it on your own, it's going to be difficult because there's just no resources like yours at all. You're the perfect source for so many people in our community to be able to find options for their loved ones.
Yeah, families need assistance when it comes to things like that because they're dealing with a lot of emotion.
Lots.
And
it's a heavy duty time.
yeah,
It
and
is.
when you can come in and help alleviate some of that, it's a big relief.
Yeah. And just to like identify and say, you know, have that compassion and be that person that can kind of explain, you know, because there's fees and there's this, and then you'll call one place and now you're calling a second place and you're getting it all confused. And, you know, it's just very devastating because you're dealing with the emotional, you know, basically everything that's involved in that. So I try and streamline that whole process.
But it's all a fear that we all have, and you alleviate and render that fear less so that, you know, you're approachable, and that's the important part.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. It's just great always talking to you and hearing
appreciate
your
that.
ideas. Assisted Living Locators, Shannon Avazian. Her phone number is 661-544-1004.
That's
Thanks
it.
for being on the show again
Thank
today.
you, you too.
We are sponsored by Comfort Keepers In-Home Care and Advanced Audiology. Listen to us next week on the Senior Hour. Now go and enhance